Hello, this is Jeff Byers. This is a video for ANI 255 Advanced Animation and Effects where we're actually rigging a character, and we've got the joints already created and we want to go in and add controllers. So you will basically follow this design as far as controllers go, and I'll take you through where they go and how to move them around. So basically, you can create these shapes by moving the control vertices around to get the shapes that you want. And once you get the shapes you want, you can move them and rotate, of course, by holding the V key down. Now, you want to make sure you turn off your mesh. That actually gets in the way when you're trying to move them. But you do want the mesh there to make sure that the controllers are easily picked, so you can pick them easily. So if they're too small, you can't click on them easily. So you want them to be big enough to click quickly, efficiently. So make sure they're scaled up right. Then turn off your mesh when you're actually so turn off, go to show, go to click off polygons, and you can go in there, and so that this might be over here. So just basically hold the V key down, select the center point, and just move it around until it snaps where you want it. So once you get those scaled and moved into position, let's start with this one. The diamond-shaped one is going to be called root controller. The next one up is called the ab controller. The next one up from that is called the sternum controller, and that will snap to that joint. And the next one up from there is called the chest controller. And then we've got this oblong ellipse called the neck base or NB controller. And the top one here is on the neck joint, so it's called neck controller. Then we've got the left arm, I call that left hand controller, and then the right hand controller. And this big guy right here that is connected to the root is called the main controller. We've got this hot dog shaped or whatever foot shaped controller, and that's called left controller. And then we've got the and that's connected to the actual ankle. Now, how did I do that? Well, normally you would have to, I held the D key down and the V key to move the pivot point from the front to the ankle joint. So the D as in duck and V as in Victor, and I moved that and snapped it to the ankle joint. Okay, and then we've got this controller here called the left foot controller. Okay, so when you get all that stuff done, I'm ready to show you how to connect everything. And it's fairly easy. So what we want to do is we want to start with the root controller. That's important. So select the root controller, and what you're going to do is you're going to select the controller, and I'm going to hit the Q key to get that out of the way. So hit the Q key and shift select the root. Now it's just select the whole entire joint system, and then I want you to go to but before we do this, okay, so when we get all of this done, I almost forgot a really important thing. So once we get all of this done, what we want to do is we want to zero out all of the transforms. Now you're going to have a lot of transforms on these, scaling and moving and rotating. So what I'm going to have you do is we're going to take this rig out of the picture, so go to show, and we want to show none. And then we want to click on show. We want to show NURBS curves. So that's just going to show the NURBS curves, so we can't make a mistake on selecting something else. So let's go ahead and select those. Okay, and once you select those, then you're going to go to modify freeze transformations, and you can go into the option box and reset it just to make sure. And then we're going to go click on freeze transformation. That clears everything out. This is critical. I'm glad I didn't forget, because that would be bad. So that's critical. Get everything, zero it out. Okay, now we can open show all, right? Show all. Okay. Now at this point, We still don't need the polygons, so go to Show and click off Polygons. Now at this point, we do want to save this. You want to save this as something that you can get to pretty easily. Okay? So save it as something like skeleton, controllers, finished. Okay? Or something like that, or skeleton, controllers, start. And then when we finish this up, you can call it finish. So you want to save in increments. Okay? So you can come back to it. So now we're ready. So now that everything's zeroed out, we can select the root. We'll start just go up the system. So we're going to start with the root, and we're going to hold down the Shift key and click on the root. So the controller first, Shift select the root, and then we're going to add a parent constraint. Okay. All right. So we're going to do this all the way up. The joint system, select the controller, then the joint, and hit the G key. Okay, that will re-invoke your last tool. So always select the controller, then the joint, and we're going to go right up the system. Again, I can show you where it is. So we're going to go in here and go to constraint and go to parent constraint. Once you do it once, you can click on the controller and shift select the joint. Okay, we're going to click on the chest one and hit the G key, so you can see that. What we want to do is we want to have the controllers control the actual joints, so that's why we're doing this. I'm going to go right up the row here. You can see that I'm clicking on the controller and then shift selecting the joint that it's attached to and hit the G key. Or the same thing would be going down to constraint and parent constraint. Okay? Alright. So we're going to do this throughout the entire piece here. So I'm going to go in here to the wrist. Okay. Now this gets a little funky here. You want to click on this. Now the funny thing is this guy right here, that is what we want to control, not the joint itself. Okay. This is a little special because this is IK system. So select the controller and then the IK system, and then go to parent constraint. Okay. And let's test this because this is really super important that we test this. So I click on this. I'm going to move it back, and that should behave just like this. Okay. Alright, so we've got that controlling the arm. Okay. That looks good. Alright. So let's get that back zeroed out. Now the beauty of having these things zeroed out is that you could save this and it's messed up, isn't it? Look at that. It's not in the preferred angle. So we can go in here, and because we zeroed everything out, we can hit 0 on here and hit enter, and that gives us back to the preferred angle of that joint. Okay, so let's go back to the other hand and select the controller first and shift select. And again, you know, I probably hit the G key, but I did a couple tool changes, so I'm going to go to constraint parent, and we'll do that to the feet too as well. Okay. Now I just gotta have. I'm kind of in a habit of clicking on this to see if it does work, to make sure it works and it looks good. Okay, so do that for everything. Always double check. So this one, and then shift select this guy right here, and again constraint, parent constraint, and click on this guy, and then the IK handle is facing this way, so this one's a little harder to get a hold of. And hit the Q key so you can get it, and shift select that. That'll highlight, and then we'll hit the G key. There we go. Alright, so let's try the feet. Okay, now notice that this won't follow along, so that's okay. Let's move that up and see if it acts correctly. It looks good. Moved up. Okay, cool. And then let's do this guy right here. And let's move that up. Okay, that looks good. Okay, cool. Alright, so next thing, select the controller and then shift select the joint, and go to parent constraint and do the same thing with this one. And hit the G key. There we go. So, alright, so what we want to do is we want the toe to follow, because if we move this up, right, that joint is stuck to that piece there, so we want this to be parented to that. So let's select the foot controller, shift select the This should be called toe. Yeah, let me rename that. Left toe controller. Toe makes more sense. There we go. And then we'll do that one. Right toe controller. There we go. Alright. So select this guy. And that's the child. This is the parent. We are going to do parent relationship with this, not parent constraint. So child and hit the P. So when we click on this, they both will move up and down. Here we go. Test it out. Okay. The child first, and then the parent, and then they hit the P. Okay. As in parent, and move that up. There we go. Cool. And then we're going to go and parent all the rest of the stuff accordingly. So we are going to parent the wrist or the hand to the chest. Okay. So hit the P key. So select the child first, and that is the hand, and then shift select the chest and hit the P. Do the same thing for this side over here. So select the hand controller. That will be the child. Shift select the parent, the chest, and hit the P key. So this is what it should act like. So if I click on the chest, these two will follow. Okay, that's a parent-child relationship. So we're going to go now. We're going to go all the way down. So basically, we want the neck to follow the base to follow the chest to follow the sternum to follow the abs, and the abs to follow the root. Okay, so we pick the child first, and then the parent, and we go right down the line. So P, right? Click on the child, and then just select the parent. Hit P. Select chest, then shift select the sternum, and hit P. Select the sternum, shift select the abs, hit P. Shift the abs, shift select the root, and hit P. There we go. So if this works right, if you click on the root, it selects the whole entire body up there, which makes sense because if I want to rotate, if I want to angle, that it works. Okay. So how did I do that again? So select the top one, okay, and then shift select the one underneath and hit P. Select the one that you just the underneath, and then shift select the one underneath that, hit the P, and then click on this one, and then shift select this one, hit the P, and continue down all the way down. As you select the ones you just did, you hit the P, and all the way down to the bottom. Okay. All right. So and hit P on that one. Okay. So if you got it working right, that means when you select on this one, it moves the whole entire rig. If you select on the one above, it still selects everything. This one above that, this one above that, this one above that, and this one above that. So there you go. Now for the feet, how do we do that? Well, they need to follow the this guy right here, the root. Okay, so select the foot and shift select the root. Okay, and hit P. Select the foot, shift select the root, and hit P. There we go. And then we click on the root, everything goes. Okay. All right. The last thing we need to do is we need to take the root controller and apply it and parent it to the main controller. So go ahead and hit the P key for that. So when you select everything, you should be able to move it forward, and you should be able to rotate. Now the only thing you won't be able to do with this properly is to scale it. So make sure you have, before you put all the controllers in IK systems, make sure if you have a bigger character that you will want to go ahead and move the joints into place and then add IK and then the controllers. So right now, a couple things we're going to do is make sure you don't scale. So I want you to take the scale and the visibility, and I want you to right click, select those. So select the main controller and go to lock selected. Okay, so that way you cannot go in here and accidentally try to scale that. You can rotate it, move it, but you can't scale it. So that'll be kind of a nice thing to put on there. Now you could go in here and hit the scale key here. You probably want to do that as well with the rest of these. You do not want to scale these. So you can go through these and turn lock those, lock selected, so you can't scale any of these. Okay? So sometimes you gotta put limitations on your controllers to keep you from doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. So the limitations for these, there are no limitations to that because we want to move this, right? And we want to be able to move this as well. That's going to be our main controller, moving and rotating. So with these guys right here, you don't want to translate, right? You don't want to move those joints around. So I'm going to go ahead and lock selected. I'm also going to lock these guys and do that for all of these areas here. So lock and lock. So do that with the rest of the joints or rest of the controllers, because you don't want to be able to move those. The only ones you should be able to move are the hands. Okay, so the controllers are important. Let's turn snap off. So it's important that we be able to move those around. We want to rotate for sure. You know, that's what we want to do. We want to rotate these joints, but we don't want to move them. So that's important that you understand that we don't have move on for these guys. So we'll turn that off. Now you can have the move on for the arms and the legs, but we want to have these guys locked. Okay. That way you can keep things kosher. Oops. There we go. One last one. So if you don't want to put on limitations that don't make sense, like we want to be able to move that joint up and down because it's got an IK system, but we don't want to be able to move this joint around. So we need a lock and make sure that scale is locked too. Excuse me. Right, and scale that too as well. Alright. Alright. So I think we're done with the rig. And that's it. And we're going to go ahead and scan the skeleton to the mesh, and I'll show you how to do that in the next video.